What is up, fellas? We are back for another UFC predictions video. This time for UFC Noche Lopes versus Silva. Really sick main event this weekend, guys. I'm stoked for it. Probably the best main event we've had in a while. Um, Decent card under it. I'm excited to break this one down for you. We did pretty good last weekend, so hoping to keep the momentum rolling. And kicking us off at welterweight for the Ultimate Fighter finale. Rodrigo Cinzanato taking on Daniil Donchenko. This is a pretty good matchup, honestly. I didn't mind this season of The Ultimate Fighter. I really like Daniil Donchenko, and I'm assuming he's probably a decent favorite here because he looked pretty good in his fights on The Ultimate Fighter. Um, I'm gonna just check. Minus 225, a little wide for me, I feel like, on the odds here. I am picking Daniil Donchenko to win. I just like his striking. He's a very good striker, Muay Thai guy. Real nice kicks, real aggressive, decent power, and he's looked good on the show. Knocked out Matt Dixon, who's a pretty good wrestler, very physical guy, very strong guy, and a guy who's kind of got some decently high level experience on like the Contender Series, if I'm not mistaken. He's a good fighter, and for Daniil Donchenko to beat him the way he did, I mean, he brutalized him in the Ultimate Fighter. I thought that was pretty impressive. Rodrigo Cinzanato, on the other hand, another pretty impressive guy on the Ultimate Fighter, more of a grappler, but pretty well rounded. I just don't think he's got the striking to deal with it, Daniil Donchenko. I think Daniil's just got a striking advantage, and I think he's good enough to keep the fight standing. Taping some of his older fights, I have seen him not look the greatest on the mat, but I think he has improved substantially. If you watch, you don't see his Ultimate Fighter the fights on like his Tapology record, but if you compare these fights to how he's been looking on the Ultimate Fighter, he seems like a much more improved fighter, and I think he is the side to win this fight. I just think he's got better striking. I think he's got more damaging striking, and I think he can keep the fight standing and win this fight. I'm going to say he probably wins this fight by decision, maybe at 29-28, gets out early, does some good damage early in the first two, maybe drops the third once they start to gas out a little bit. But yeah, I'm going with Daniil Donchenko by a decision. Moving up to women's bantamweight, Alice Pereira taking on Montserrat Rendon. Um, what are the odds on this? 205. Alice Pereira is 19. She's very young. Dude, this is a tricky fight because Montserrat Rendon's a pretty horrible fighter, but dude, like digging into it's hard to find anything on this Alice Pereira girl, her fights. A lot of them are very low quality, recorded by like a cell phone. I as a guy who likes to bet on these fights, I typically don't give any kind of betting advice, but I would stay the fuck away from this. If you're betting on this, you need help, to be honest. I think Alice Pereira should win just because I think Montserrat Rendon's horrible. She's very old. She's going to be a lot smaller in there. But I don't know if this Pereira chick is UFC level at all. We're going to find out. If she can smoke Montserrat Rendon, then she's probably UFC level. I hope she does because the women's bantamweight division is a joke pretty much right now. But it's hard to put a lot of faith in a 19-year-old who has not been tested even a little bit. But she is big. She is young. She's got some decent stand up. I'm gonna lean on her here. I think she's a better striker than Montserrat Rendon for sure. But this is an ugly one. I don't know. I was gonna see if anybody was getting cute with a Rendon underdog pick. Nobody is. I'm gonna go with Alice Pereira. I'm just gonna say a decision. I know she's gotten like some TKOs and stuff, but these ladies are genuinely like a Circle K employees, so I'm not reading into that too much. But I genuinely don't know. It's hard to do tape on this because Montserrat Rendon's tape, she looks pretty bad in a lot of it, and Alice Pereira's tape is just like, I mean, what can you really take from the? To be honest, moving up to men's flyweight, Alessandro Costa taking on Alden Correa. Um, Very wide line to be honest. Correa is not a bad fighter, but I do think I'm pretty sure this fight's on short notice. I do think this is a little bit too much too soon for a guy in your debut. Alessandro Costa is pretty well rounded. He's only dropped 2 fights in the UFC to Elmir Albazi, who's ranked in the top five, and Steve Urseg, who's a top 10 fighter. Went 50-50 with Pantoja, you know what I mean? And when they give him a guy who's not on this top 10 fringe top five level, he beats them, right? Beats Kevin Borjas, smashes him. Kevin Borjas isn't a bad fighter. Batters Jimmy Flick, you know what I mean? I believe his debut was to Albazi. Yeah, tough draw on your debut, to be honest. Yeah, I just think it's a little bit too much too soon for Alden Correa here. I think Alessandro Costa wins this fight. He's got good low kicks. He's got good power. He's got fast hands. He keeps his defense tight. He's got some grappling as well. I think he's just a solid fighter. He's a fringe, kind of like just outside the rankings guy. They have him here at 30. I would say, yeah, probably like 30 to 25. He's a very skilled fighter, and I just think this might be a tough draw for Alden in his debut. I see Alessandro Costa winning this fight. I just think he's a little bit too good. He's going to be a lot shorter, but it's harder to punch down than punch up, so I'm not really worried about it, especially because the reach is the same. A lot of people picking Costa by decision. I tend to agree. I don't see the submission angle here, to be honest. I think more often than not, Alessandro Costa can win a decision here. I also see value on him getting a finish because he is pretty powerful and he does have good shot placement. So I'm definitely going with Costa to win. I'm going to be bold. I'm going to say Costa wins inside the distance. I like his shot placement. I like his power. I think he can win this fight by TKO. Moving up to middleweight, Zachary Reese taking on Cedric Dumas. They chopped the ankle monitor off for this one, huh? Uh, I saw Cedric Dumas post that he had like $13 in his bank account or whatever. Is that going to make him fight better than he typically would? I don't think so. I mean, he's got incentive to win. That's for fucking sure. Um, but I've never thought Cedric Dumas is very good. I've got a pretty good read on him in his career. I picked him to beat Talulin. I picked him to lose to Ruzaboev. I picked him to lose to Oleg Zaychuk. I believe I picked him to beat Abu Azaitar. I think I picked him to lose to Cody Brundage, though. But I just don't think Cedric Damas is very good. He's very long and rangy. He has like a nice 1-2. His grappling's very mediocre, and that's basically what you get with him. He's not anything too impressive. Whereas Zachary Reese, I at least see some good attributes. Like he's got good power. He's got a good jiu-jitsu game. He's got good submission skills. I think he's a better grappler than Cedric Damas. I think on the feet he's more powerful. I don't think necessarily he has better striking technique, at least with the hands. But I think his finishing potential makes up for that. I like Zachary Reese here. He's only lost twice in the UFC. He lost to Bakoyev, who's pretty good. And he lost to Cody Brundage in like a slam KO. You know what I mean? So what can you do, really? But since then, he's beat Julian Marquez, who's terrible, but he beat him easy. Jose Medina, he battered, who's terrible. And Dusko Todorovic, who's not that bad. I mean, he's a bit chinny, but technically he can, he's okay. I think that's better than Cedric Damas's wins, to be honest. I mean, he beat Abu Azaitar, but the Azaitar brothers suck. Dennis Talulin, horrible fighter. The biggest grappling weakness I've ever seen. He beat Brundage on short notice, which I guess is okay, but I just don't trust him. He's got too much going on in his personal life right now for me to trust him to win a fight against a guy who I'm sure is preparing well, motivated, only has his mind probably on this fight. I got to go with Zachary Reese here. I think he wins this fight inside the distance. I think he can hurt Cedric Damas on the feet. I think he can get the fight to the mat, and I think he could submit him as well. I think he just wins inside the distance. I think he's got a fair shot of winning this fight either which way. I kind of like the submission angle. A lot of people picking TKO, but I think Zachary Reese has an underrated jiu-jitsu game, to be honest. Moving up to flyweight, Jesus Aguilar taking on Luis Gurule. Okay, that's about what I expected from the line. I'm going Luis Gurule here. I do think Jesus Aguilar is really good, though. I think he's super underrated. But I also think Luis Gurule is good. I think, his debut fight, I picked him to beat Ode Osborne. He did not beat Ode Osborne. He got caught bad and TKO'd. But after how Ode Osborne looked against Steve Urseg, I don't feel like that's the worst loss in the world. I still think Gurule is legit. I still think he's really good. He's very well-rounded. He's very big. He's very strong for this division. He's got decent striking all around, good kicks, good shot selection. I think Gurule is good. He's got good grappling, too. Jesus Aguilar's grappling is solid, but it basically boils down to him having a very nice guillotine. I don't see him getting a guillotine on Gurule. And on the feet, I think they're pretty even, although would suspect Gurule would have a pretty decent reach advantage, which he does. Both guys are pretty powerful. I just I like Gurule here because I see him being a round winner in this matchup. I think he can win by finish, of course, but I think more often than not he will be the guy controlling and positional grappling, things like that. And I think his physicality will lend to him dictating the pace a little bit more. I think Luis Gurule can win this fight, even though I think Aguilar's a good fighter. I think this would be a hard fight for Gurule. I think I trust Gurule to win a decision here against Jesus Aguilar in a pretty closely contested fight, I think. No one's picking Gurule. Wow, that's surprising to me. I mean, I get it. I think Aguilar's good. Hey, he's a decent underdog for sure, but I think the debut is disillusioning people to how good Gurule actually is. I think he's solid, man. Moving up to women's strawweight, Tatiana Suarez taking on Amanda Lemos. Line's a bit wide, don't you think? Jesus. I get it. Tatiana Suarez is really good, and Amanda Lemos does have a weakness to the grapplers. I am going to be picking Tatiana Suarez. I definitely think this line's a little bit too out there for me, but I just can see her easily winning and controlling Amanda Lemos for 3 rounds. Lemos makes too many mistakes on the mat. She's very powerful on the feet, very explosive. She's got some submission skills as well off of her back, but it's going to be hard to pull something like that off against Tatiana Suarez, who's as good of a grappler as she is. She competed hard against Zhang Weili, got destroyed, which I picked her to lose, so it was nice being right. But I think this is a good bounce back win for her. I think she could beat Amanda Lemos. At times I have a hard time reading Amanda Lemos because a lot of the times I'll pick her to lose, she'll win. A lot of times I'll pick her to win, she'll lose. It's just what can you do really? She's a very 50-50 fighter, but she is dangerous and she is good. But I think Tatiana Suarez has the wrestling to get Amanda Lemos down multiple times and keep her there because Lemos has always had a problem with that. I don't know necessarily if Suarez submits her because she doesn't have the jiu-jitsu game of somebody like a Jandaroba, but I think she does have better pure wrestling. So I'm gonna go with Tatiana Suarez here. I think she probably wins the decision. I could see Amanda Lemos maybe hitting a sweep, getting out. Maybe there's a moment of like, oh fuck, but I think this is Suarez's fight to win for sure. I would definitely line her closer to like a -2 something than a -400. A lot of people, everyone's on Suarez. I understand. I do think Lemos is an alright dog though. On the feet, she's much better and much more dangerous than a Tatiana Suarez. So there is that chance that she knocks her out or something like that, lands a big shot. Moving up to a lightweight, Claudia Puelles taking on Joaquim Silva. Joaquim Silva's the favorite. Okay. This is a tricky one because Claudio Puelles is a leg lock merchant, and I've never been high on him. I've always thought he kind of sucked. But he's taken some time off. Lost a close fight to for a CM who's gone on a run and looked really good. So that he's honestly aged pretty well. And he lost to Dan Hooker, who's a top 10 guy. Granted, it was a bad performance, but that's almost 3 years ago, and he's a young guy, dude. I kind of want to pick Claudio Puelles here as an underdog. Because Joaquim Silva, although he's solid, he's powerful, he's explosive, he's got some jiu-jitsu. He's outclassed in the jiu-jitsu for sure by Claudio Puelles. I think Claudio Puelles could maintain range on Joaquim Silva pretty easily. Joaquim Silva is a guy who kind of struggles to close the distance. He's very dangerous once he gets inside boxing range, but he's not getting any younger. He's almost 37 at lightweight. He Drakkar close fight. Clay Guida, like, Clay Guida is uber washed, dude. Taking him into a decision, I don't love. Arman Sarukian hurt him, but he hurt Arman, but he got smashed. Jesse Ronson's a fucking schmuck, and then getting KO'd by Ricky Glenn, bro. I don't know. I kind of like 4 years ago, Claudio Puelles is beating Jordan Levitt. 4 years ago, Joaquim Silva was getting flatlined by fucking Ricky Glenn, dude. I'm going with Claudio Puelles here, man. I think he can maintain distance using his reach advantage. I think I trust him to improve more over the time off as a younger fighter, and I think he's better at jiu-jitsu than Joaquim Silva outright. So if it hits the mat, I trust Claudio Puelles with his grappling a little bit more than I do Joaquim Silva. Now, granted, Joaquim Silva's dangerous. There's a reason he's the favorite. He's very powerful. But, when people think of Joaquim Silva right now, they think of, oh my God, he hurt Arman on the feet. He almost knocked out Arman. They don't think of him getting chinned by Ricky Glenn. They don't think of him having a competitive fight with Clay Guida or losing to Drakkar Close. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm gonna pick Claudio Puelles, man, because he's losing a top 10 guy and a guy who's probably gonna be a top 10 guy the way he's looking. You know what I mean? Then he beats Clay Guida easy, beats Chris Grutzmacher, who's not very good, and then beats Jordan Leavitt, who I think's a solid grappler and who has some pretty dangerous striking in moments. I'm gonna go with Claudio Puelles here. I actually think he could submit Joaquim Silva. Just because he has BJJ in his nickname does not mean he's that good at jiu-jitsu. I don't think he'd have much off of his back. But we'll see. A lot of people are picking Puelles. I am too. I'm one of them. I like him at plus 115 here. If he was like a minus 200 favorite, I might consider picking Joaquim Silva because I like picking underdogs or I like picking value a lot of the time just for fun. But I'm going to go with Claudio Puelles here. I think he's got a better game than Joaquim Silva at this point in his career, but we shall see. Moving up to middleweight, Jose Medina taking on Duško Todorovic. Guys, I'm going Duško Todorovic. Jose Medina has no skill. He's just simply tough. Duško Todorovic doesn't really have great durability, but he's a pretty talented a fighter. He's got decent grappling. He's got good kickboxing. It's just his durability's kind of let him down, right? Now, lost to Zachary Reese in a decision. Mansour Abdul Malik got him, who's pretty solid. Christian Leroy Duncan, knee injury. Can't really read into that. KO Jordan Wright, bad. And then lost to Chidi and Jikawani. These guys are like UFC fighters. You know what I mean? Zachary, like these are UFC level guys. And when they give him a guy who's not UFC level and Jordan Wright, he chins him. Jose Medina is not UFC level. He got signed off the Contender Series for being tough. He's not skilled. He's not good. Could I see him maybe mad dogging Duško Todorovic and landing a shot on what I think is a little bit of a suspect chin and hurting Duško? Sure, but if Zachary Reese isn't finishing him, I don't know if Jose Medina is. He got and Jose Medina's durability got checked by Gauthier. So I don't know. This is Duško Todorovic's fight to win. If he loses this fight, cut him. Honestly, cut him both. If Duško loses this fight, because Jose Medina is not UFC level, just outright. And Duško has no excuses for losing to this guy. He's a much better technical fighter. Some people are picking Medina. That's crazy. I mean, he could do it. He could do it. He is tough, but skill for skill, there's just no way. Moving up to bantamweight, Santiago Luna taking on Quang Lee. You guys know I'm a Quang Lee enjoyer, so I'm a little bit biased. Santiago Luna, though, good fighter, undefeated, young guy, really solid grappling. Quang Lee's good, though, bro. Quang Lee's got some UFC experience now, you know what I mean? He made his debut against Chris Gutierrez, hard debut on short notice. Fought Long Zhao. Long Zhao's a fucking dog. Long Zhao's a beast. I love Long Zhao. And then easily handled Gaston Bolaños, who's a dangerous striker. Quang Lee's pretty good, dude. He's got 3 fights in the UFC. He's fought some pretty much ranked competition in Chris Gutierrez. Chris Gutierrez is solid. On Santiago Luna, he's a little bit unproven, but I do think he is good. He's very young, and I don't trust these super young guys in their debut against guys with some experience. I kind of want to lean Quang Lee here, because he's got solid grappling as well. I don't think he's going to be easy to out-grapple. And I think on the feet, Luna's okay, but I trust the composure of Quang Lee a little bit more than I do Santiago Luna on the feet. So I'm going to lean Quang Lee here. I think Luna can win this fight, and I do think he's good. I think the more he fights, I think the better he's going to get. I think he's a talented fighter for sure. I just think this is kind of a tricky debut, because Luna's a guy who likes to do a lot of work from dominant position. Quang Lee's a guy who also kind of can have success doing that. So I feel like if the grappling gets stalled out, which it might, I favor Quang Lee on the feet, just outright. So I'm gonna go with Quang Lee here. I think he wins this fight. I think he probably wins the decision here. Maybe Santiago Luna starts out hot, gets the grappling going, gets dominant position for a little bit, but as the fight goes on, I can see the veteran experience in Quang Lee kind of starting to weigh on Luna a little bit. Maybe Quang Lee starts stuffing the takedown, starts landing shots on the feet and the latter half, like the second round, and then in the third round, and he wins himself a closely contested decision here. This is a close competitive fight, though. Either guy can win this one, but I'm going to lean Quang Lee just because he's got some UFC experience against some decent competition. And Luna's a little bit unproven to me. If he beats Quang Lee, though, it's a good sign for his future. Moving up to lightweight, Alexander Hernandez taking on Diego Ferreira. Guys, I'm going to make this short and candid. I'm going Diego Ferreira. You guys know I'm a Diego Ferreira enjoyer. I pick him a lot because I think he's good. I think he's underrated. I think Alexander Hernandez is good too. He looks good. Knocked out Shea Super. But Diego Ferreira's a dog, man. I think he's got a grappling advantage here over Alexander Hernandez. I think he's a much better jiu-jitsu player, a serious jiu-jitsu player. Got nasty scrambles, decent takedowns. He's got good hands as well, good power. And that, even at 40, I think he's still good, dude. I think he can beat an Alexander Hernandez. Granted, Hernandez has been looking good at lightweight. These losses are at featherweight, so don't even pay no mind to them. Beat Austin Hubbard. Austin Hubbard's all right. Kurt Hollabaugh. That decision was weird to me. I haven't watched that fight back. I didn't tape that one, but that decision was weird to me. That was a weird fight. And Chase Hooper caught him with a big shot. But when I think about it, dude, Diego Ferreira is better than all these guys. He's better than all these guys. I know he's old, but I've seen Diego Ferreira fight the best of them. You know what I mean? Like, chinned Michael Johnson, killed him dead, battered Mateusz Rebecki bad. Lost to Grant Dawson, got out grappled. Grant Dawson is an elite grappler in this division. A serious prospect, in my opinion. I think he'll do good things if that chin doesn't get touched. You know what I mean? Loses to Mateusz Gamrot, Gregor Gillespie. These guys are above the level of Alexander Hernandez. I know Ferreira's old, but I like him here. He's a durable guy, too. I mean, he was taking big shots from Rebecki. I know Hernandez hits hard, but so does Rebecki, and Ferreira was able to eat all of those. I'm going to lean Diego Ferreira here, man. I like him as an underdog. I think he can win this fight inside the distance, too. I think he can get Hernandez down to the mat. I think he can beat him up there. I think he can submit him as well, quite frankly. A lot of people picking Hernandez. It's fair. Hernandez has been on a run. He's been looking good, and he's a much younger guy in basically his prime. But I'm going to pick the underdog in Diego Ferreira. I always pick him. You know I got to pick him. I'm going with my GOAT, Diego Ferreira. Moving up to 185, Kelvin Gastelum taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. Guys, I'm going with Kelvin here. This is a step down in competition for Kelvin. And when he takes step downs in competition, you know, he wins them. I wouldn't say Chris Curtis is a step down. Also, I kind of feel like this decision was given to Kelvin based off that headbutt that like knocked out Chris Curtis in round 2, I believe. So I don't read into that too much. But they give him a Daniel Rodriguez, he beats him. You know, they give him a Joe Pyfer, who I think is borderline top 15 guy. He loses. Sean Brady, way better than I thought he was. Beats him easy. You know what I mean? Jared Cannonier, top 10 guy. Fringe, you know, top 5 guy most of the time. Dustin Stoltzfus isn't that guy. I can't trust him to beat Kelvin Gastelum, even at this point in Gastelum's career. Stoltzfus is very hit and miss, just like Gastelum, but the level is much lower. You know what I mean? Granted, Stoltzfus is a big guy, powerful guy, durable guy, but he's just too irresponsible a lot of the time. His decision making and points can hurt him. Granted, I've seen Kelvin make some dumb decisions, but you know, Ruziboev was a winnable fight for him. He kind of threw it away. Beat Marc-Andre Barriault, decent win, I guess. Bruno Ferreira showed a lot of heart, a lot of durability there, but ended up getting knocked out. Punahele Soriano beat him, decent win. And then got KO'd by Abbas Bad by the front kick. I just think the level of competition is lower. I trust Kelvin Gastelum with a step down in competition, just straight up. I don't really need to say anything more. I think it'll probably go the distance here. Both guys are pretty durable. Well, both guys are very durable. I think if anybody gets a TKO finish, I would expect it to be Gastelum. But, you know, Gastelum's durability's been looking a little bit, he's been looking a little too easy to drop. But I'm still trusting in my GOAT, Kelvin Gastelum, bro. I think he can win this fight for sure. Moving up to lightweight, Jared Gordon taking on Rafa Garcia. This is another one I'm not going to yap too long about because I'm pretty set in stone on who I'm picking. I'm going with Jared Gordon, bro. Jared Gordon is one of the most underrated fucking guys at lightweight. He got robbed against Haqparast as somebody who picked and bet Haqparast. He should have won this fight. KO'd Mark Madsen, picked him to KO Mark Madsen. Picked him to beat Moises. He flatlined KO'd Moises. He was beating the shit out of Bobby Green before Bobby Green headbutted him, arguably intentionally. And Paddy Pimblett, he should have beat Paddy Pimblett, man. He should have his last 5 fights should be Thiago Moises, Haqparast, Mark Madsen, Bobby Green, and Paddy Pimblett, and they should all be victories. This guy's high level, bro. He's good. He is good. And Rafa Garcia, man. Vince Pichel had some moments against Rafa Garcia, and Vince Pichel took a long layoff, and he's ancient. Lost to Grant Dawson, got smoked, happens. Clay Guida, pretty competitive fight with Clay Guida. Mahashet, you know, Mahashet just lost to a guy, you know, who I don't think is all that great. Drakkar Klose, like, Jared Gordon would beat Drakkar Klose. Jared Gordon's a good fighter. He's well-rounded, good grappling, good boxing, good cardio. I trust Jared Gordon here, and he's been finding the KO, dude. Like flatline KOing Thiago Moises is fucking crazy. Not a lot of guys have been able to do that, really. I just think he's better. I think Jared Gordon is seriously underrated. I'm a Jared Gordon enjoyer. I think this is his fight to win. I think he probably wins a decision. Just being he's good in that dirty boxing range, and Rafa Garcia, man, he's not. If I'm being honest, he's really not. I'm going with Jared Gordon. I think he wins this fight by decision. Probably 30-27, honestly. I just think he's a better fighter. He's fought a much better level of comp, and he's looked better against a higher level of comp than Rafa Garcia, who, in my opinion, doesn't really do anything that well. He's pretty well rounded, Rafa Garcia, and Jared Gordon is pretty well rounded as well. But I think Jared Gordon is a higher level of well rounded than Rafa Garcia, despite being his senior by 6 years. I'm going with Jared Gordon. And moving up to the co-main event, Rob Font taking on David Martinez. Guys, you know I'm a Rob Font picker against a lot of these prospects. I picked him against Gene Matsumoto. I picked him against Adrian Yanez. Or Yanez. I forget how to pronounce his name. But man, I kind of want to pick David Martinez. Because unlike a lot of these guys, unlike like a Kyler Phillips who death gassed when he tried to grapple, unlike a Gene Matsumoto, unlike an Adrian Yanez, I think David Martinez, despite being young and untested largely in his career, I think he's got a good style to beat Rob Font. I like his striking style. I like how he utilizes his circling really well. He's in and out. He's kind of got that karate stance, and he's really good at shot placement. And Rob Font's a guy who's going to be walking in. And sometimes Rob Font can cut off the cage. Sometimes. Other times he follows. And if he gets caught following David Martinez, I think he's going to walk onto something. And David Martinez, I think, is a pretty solid point kickboxer. He also has some finishing upside as well. I also think he can mix up the grappling a little bit. He's a young guy, largely untested, and this is a big step up in comp for him. But I like him as an underdog, especially at plus 185. I'm picking David Martinez to win a decision here over Rob Font, unironically. I know he's got a big reach disadvantage. He's a smaller guy. I like his kicks, though. I like Martinez. Nobody's picking him. These are the kind of fights that I think Rob Font loses. I don't know. The stylistics don't do it for me, for Rob Font. He's a good boxer, weak hips, easy to take down, good forward pressure. His durability, I think he's at a disadvantage. And he's going to have to track Martinez, not the other way around. I'm going to go with David Martinez. I don't know. As a big underdog, fuck it. Why not? Speaking of big underdogs, Diego Lopes in our main event at featherweight, taking on John Silva. Plus 235. I kind of want to pick Diego Lopes. This whole week build up, I've been wanting to pick Diego Lopes. I think John Silva has a good chance of winning this fight. Don't get me wrong, but minus 300. What for? Like what for, dude? His best win is Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell, he just fought at bantamweight, and he even looked undersized at bantamweight. You know what I mean? Granted, the stylistics of this matchup. Honestly, I think both of these guys match up pretty well into each other. Diego Lopes has attributes that I think help him beat a Gene Silva, and Gene Silva has attributes that I think help him beat a Diego Lopes. I see this fight being closer to a 50-50, especially in a 5-rounder. So this line, I just can't get there. Because Diego Lopes has shown really good elite durability, good cardio. I mean, he competed 5 rounds hard against one of, if not the greatest featherweight of all time in Volkanovski. Granted, maybe it's a little bit more of a washed version of Volkanovski, but he competed well, hard for 5 rounds. So his cardio's been tested. His durability's been tested. And I think having good cardio, having good durability, and having that heart and that will to win, I think that those are things that he can use to beat a Gene Silva as this fight starts to get deeper. Because if Gene Silva doesn't finish him in like the first 3, I feel like 4 and 5, Diego Lopes might start to be able to put it on him. Now, where I think Gene Silva has advantages is I think he's one of the only guys that Diego Lopes has fought outside of Alexander Volkanovski that's good at fighting off their back foot. He's a good counterpuncher. He has good shot placement and he has good timing. But unlike Volk, he's got really good power, Gene Silva. And he's got a decent submission game as well, Gene Silva. I do think Lopes has a distinct advantage in just the pure jiu-jitsu, though. And that's another thing I wanted to touch on. I think pure grappling, I think Lopes is probably a bit better. I think he's got better jiu-jitsu flat out. And I think Gene Silva's a guy who can be taken down. Charles Jourdain was able to take him down at will. And Charles Jourdain's not a guy typically known for that takedown. But granted, that could be a reason why he was able to take down Gene Silva, because he probably wasn't expecting Jourdain to be shooting on him. But when we look at levels of comp here, I mean, it's not even close. Like Pat Sabatini, Sadiq Youssef, Dan Ige, Brian Ortega, Alexander Volkanovski, and he debuted against Evolov, man. When we look at Gene Silva, he's looked very good. He's looked borderline unbeatable. But, on the Contender Series, he had a good win over Kevin Vallejos, who's really talented. But then he fights Weston Wilson, who's a bum. Charles Jourdain got the KO. He only got a KO, Charles Jourdain, but guess what? Jourdain's fighting at bantamweight now. He's too small for featherweight. And Gene Silva missed weight for this fight. So would that KO have happened if Gene Silva really had to suck it up and drain himself down to make the weight? I don't know. Short notice beats Drew Dober. Dominant performance. But Drew Dober's kind of washed. I mean, we just saw what's his name? Manuel Torres just flatlined Drew Dober, killed him, dead. You know what I mean? It's an impressive win, but the level is just not the same. Melsik Bagdasaryan, dangerous kickboxer, really skilled guy, KO'd him. This win, honestly, I think is more. I argue this win might be more impressive than like the Drew Dober or the Charles Jourdain one. This win impressed me because Bagdasaryan's a good striker. He's fast too. He's got good eyes, and Gene Silva was able to catch him. And then Bryce Mitchell. I mean, he toyed with Bryce Mitchell. But this is another thing why I kind of want to pick Lopez. Gene Silva he farts around too much. Like, he probably could have got Mitchell out of there in the first round, but he didn't. I think that's a bit silly. And sometimes it feels like he's doing too much. He can't afford to do that against this guy. Diego Lopez he's high level. He's got good power. He's got good boxing. He's got good pressure. He's got good cardio, and he's got good durability, and he's got good jiu-jitsu. This is an elite guy. And this is why I want to pick him over Gene Silva. Because I have to see Gene Silva against an elite guy before I want to start picking him as a minus 300 against, like, elite guys. You know what I mean? If he goes out here and smashes Diego Lopez, I might pick him to beat Volk. I'm not even going to cap. But I don't know. You know what I mean? I've seen him against, like a borderline top 15 guy in Bryce Mitchell. But outside of that, I haven't seen him against the highest level of guy. Diego Lopez made his debut against the #1 contender of this division. You know what I'm saying? And he competed well. And then he beats up Brian Ortega, smashes him, knocks him out cold, wakes him up with the same combo. Dan Ige, short notice. The shortest of notice. The day of notice. Fights Dan Ige, a dangerous guy. Beats him, shows a lot of heart in this fight. Sadiq Youssef, skilled guy, well-rounded guy. Smashes him. Pat Sabatini, really good grappler, underrated grappler. Just beat Joranderson Brito easy. Pat Sabatini did. Killed him. I'm going to trust Lopez here. I think this is a fight where he's going to be tested. His durability is going to be tested. His heart's going to be tested. But I trust if it gets out of like rounds 1, 2, and 3, I think Diego Lopez is going to start to wear on Gene Silva a little bit. Gene Silva hasn't been in a hard 5-rounder. I want to see how he performs. I do think he is the best fighting nerd, period, Gene Silva. But I want to see more from him. I want to see him against the highest level of competition here. And at minus 300, it makes me want to pick Lopez. Because I can so see Lopez winning. I can see Gene Silva winning too. I think this fight's more of like a 55-45 split percentage-wise. And I would give the edge to Gene Silva because I think he's got more power. I think he's a sharper striker. I think, if they fight 10 times, I think Gene Silva wins maybe like 5.5 to 6 times out of 10. But he's minus 300. That's not the implied odds. So I want to go with Diego Lopez. I'm going to pick Diego Lopez. I think he's got ways to win here. He's got a better level of competition. He's going to be the much bigger guy in there. I think he's got a little bit of a grappling upside too. He's got an experience upside as well. I'm going with Diego Lopez, man. A lot of people picking Silva by KO. I understand it. It's a fine pick. But I'm going with Lopez. I'm going with the big dog. You guys know I like picking underdogs. I'm gonna pick another one. I'm gonna go with Diego Lopez to win a decision here. A hard-fought decision. 48-47 in a war. That's what I'm hoping for from these guys. And I think these guys will deliver. This is one of my most anticipated main events in a while. But yeah, that's it for this card, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I feel like this was a long breakdown. But yeah, I appreciate it a ton. If you made it this far in the video, subscribe if you're new. Appreciate that a lot. And I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.